Hi, I'm Jay from the J Tray, and I'm here to talk to you about how to autofill sequential letters in Excel. The purpose of this video is to look at a formula I've written, and I've already posted a blog about this particular formula, but it's my most commonly searched formula on the internet, so I thought it was worthwhile putting together this video. And also, I get asked a lot how I come up with some of my unusual formulas, and I'm going to talk you through the logic of creating this formula to try to get you an idea of how I come up with these. So the problem itself came from an engineer. He had a document where he needed to list every step as a letter rather than a number, so it was A, B, C, D and so on. He knew how to autofill sequential numbers in Excel, so typing in 1, dragging it down so he gets 2, 3, 4, 5. But he needs to do this for letters, and it's not as obvious in Excel. So by sequential letters, I mean A, B, C, D to Y, Z, and then AA, AB, AC, and so on. So when he came to me with this problem, straight offhand, I honestly didn't know the answer. But as soon as I opened Excel, I could see the solution. If you look at the column headers, the letters are A, B, C, D across to X, Y, Z, then AA, AB. Exactly the format the engineer wanted. So I knew straight away that the basis for what I was going to do is going to be based on the address formula. I was going to use Excel's column letters to give him sequential letters. This is the formula result that I gave him. It might look like there's a lot going on, or it might look complicated, but it's actually quite straightforward, and I'm going to talk to you now about how I came up with this. It's made up of an address formula, which, as I said, I knew was going to be the basis of this result. It also has row and left formulas and a bit of Excel logic. The address formula first, it creates a cell reference as text, given a specified row and column numbers. The parameters of the formula are row number, column number, absolute number, and A1. So you can see here I have equals address, and then within the brackets we have our parameters. The first one, I have a 1. My row number is 1. The second one is my column number. I've put in 1, which equates to A, because A is the first column. If I wanted column C, I would put in 3. Now it's outside the scope to talk about the next two, the absolute number and the A1. For this formula, you're going to put in 4 and 1, but feel free to play with those to see what different types of results you get. But for our particular formula, we want 4 and 1. So that formula will give me the result of A1. And if I drag that down in Excel, it will always give me A1 because I have set my row number as 1, my column number as 1. But I actually want to go from A1 to B1 to C1. So I'd have to slightly change this address formula. And this is where I came to use the row formula. The row formula returns the row number of a reference. The only parameter is the reference. So the row number of cell A1 is 1. The row number of cell F1 is still 1. The row number of A120 is 120. So it's the row number of that cell reference. That's what the row formula returns. So in cell A1 I typed in equals row A1, I get the result 1. But when I drag that down, that formula changes to equals row A2, equals row A3 and so on. So in this example here in column A, you can see I get the result 1, 2, 3. Then I've hidden a lot of rows, 25, 26, 27 and so on. This here will allow me to change my address formula, drag it down and have the column numbers increase each time. So the row and the address formula together, it looks like this. If we go at equals address, the first parameter is 1. I am still in row 1. That's what that 1 there is. It's this second part that might confuse you a bit. I'm using a row formula in my column number parameter. So when I first type this into cell A1, row A1 equals 1. So my column number equals 1, which is column A. When I drag that down 1, that becomes row A2, which equals 2, and column number 2 is B. Then row A3 equals 3, and column number 3 is C. So as that goes down to row A30, I get AD. So if you try that yourself, type it into cell A1, drag it down, you'll notice that the row formula in the column parameter increases as you drag it down. So at this point, I'm almost there. I have A1, B1, C1. I have the letters exactly the way the engineer wants them. But unfortunately, there's a 1 at the end, which he doesn't want. So the next thing we're going to do is remove that 1, leaving just the letters. And the first part of that is using the left formula. The left formula returns a specified number of characters from the start of a text string, and its two parameters are text and number of characters. So in cell A1 here, I've typed in the J tray. And then in B1, I'm doing a formula equals left A1, which is the J tray. That's my text string. My number of characters is 6. So that gives me the JA. You might look at that and say it's actually only giving me 5 letters, which it is. It's giving me 5 letters but 6 characters because there is a space after the and before J. And that's what I'm going to use now in my row and address formula, because I only want the first character of my address and row formula. So these together, the left row and address. Before our address formula, we put in left and open the bracket. And then at the end of our existing address formula, we put in a comma, and then that whole address formula becomes our text string. And then after that, our number of characters is 1. So we're going to have, before the address formula, it's going to be left open bracket. After our address formula, comma 1 close bracket. So we want the first we want one character from the left hand side of our address formula. So that was A1, B1 and so on. The first character on the left hand side is now A, B, C. And you can see this works for us until we get to row 27, where we want to see AA, but because our left formula is only looking at the first character, instead of AA we get A. Then instead of AB we get A. So we want this formula to change slightly. Once we get past Z, we then want to see the first 2 characters on the left hand side. And that's where we're going to use some Excel logic to get what we want. Cell A1, I've just typed in equals row A1 greater than 26. This isn't a formula per se, it's just a logic test. So we're saying row A1 greater than 26, that's false. And that's what Excel returns to us. If we look here at cell A27, when I dragged it down, row A27 is greater than 26, so that gives us true. In Excel, numerically a false is 0 and a true is 1. So in B1, I'm just doing equals A1 plus 1. Because A1 is false, that's a 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Down to row 26, A26 is not greater than 26. False, which is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. And then in row 27, row A27 is greater than 26. So that's a true, which equals to 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2. So where earlier I typed in that I wanted my number of characters for my left string was 1, I am now going to use this logic so that once it gets to Z, then it will give me the first 2 characters. And that's the final formula. So the address formula gets the column references. So we had row 1, column 1, A1. When we drag that down, that stays as A1 all the way. Then we use the row formula to change the column number of our address. So it starts off as row A1, which equals to column 1, which is column A. But as you drag that down, it goes to A2, A3, and so on. And then that's what gives us our A1, B1, C1. But then we want to remove the number after the letter. And that's where we use the left formula. But because the left formula would only give us the first character up to row 26, which worked for us, after that point we needed a second character, and that's where we use the Excel logic. So if you look at the formula in the formula bar here, it's equals left, which we've talked about already, and then our text string of our left formula, it goes from address up to towards the end of the address formula where you have 4, 1 close bracket. That's our text string. That's our A1, B1, C1. So we're looking for, that's the text string, but the number of characters we want is now based on the end of this formula where you have within the brackets row A2, in this case, greater than 26, close bracket, plus 1. So our logic test, is row A2 greater than 26? No, it's not. That's false. So that's 0. 0 plus 1 equals 1. That's like earlier where we said our text string is the address result. Our number of characters is 1. But once we get to row 27, where row A27 is greater than 26, that gives us 1 plus 1. Our number of characters in our left formula is 2. So even though I've been talking for almost 2 minutes now about this formula, actually creating the formula took a lot less. I wouldn't worry too much if you were to try this yourselves about typing the formula, the completed formula from start to finish. To be honest, I wouldn't do it myself. I always go with my main part of the formula and then change that to get my final result. So if you would break down those formulas yourself, type each one out as I've gone through them. So do your address formula first. Drag that down 30, 40 rows, whatever you want. Then do your row formula in a separate column. And then do your left formula in a separate column. And then do your Excel logic at the end. So you can see each of those as they go along. And then I piece them together to come up with my final formula. So now I'd like to suggest that you go ahead and try it yourself. As I said, try each formula on its own first. And then try to piece it together. And good luck with that.